You're welcome back. Now we are moving to the sewing. I'm sure you are still following the process. The first is to place your support fabric, the lace, then the lining. We're going to sew on the neckline. First, we have the support fabric. You then place your lace fabric on it. Then you have your lining. If you're working without a lace, it will be your main fabric and your lining. So you sew on the neck, you'll notch. After notching, remember to top stitch on the lining because that is going to allow the lining stay firm at the back of your fabric. I mean, yes, your fabric. Once that has been done, we're going to notch the middle. Just get the middle so that you can measure the darts from the middle. And the dart for this measurement, of course, is 3 inches because it's for a kid. So it's 3 inches to the left and 3 inches to the right, starting from the center. Now the length of our dart is 3 inches as well. So you're going to take your 3 inches and you do hold the dart only on the fabric. Make sure you're not sewing on your lining. The same thing we've done to the front, we're going to repeat on the back. So we have the support fabric, we have the lace fabric, and then we have the lining. So I'm going to sew on the neckline. I'm going to notch and top stitch on my lining just like we did on the front. So whatever you're doing on the side of the back, you repeat the same on the other side of the back. Next is to hold the lining. So now it is 4.5. Remember, zipper allowance is applied to the back fabric, so we need to consider that when taking the measurement. So your zipper allowance plus your 3 inches, so that will make it 4.5. So you hold your 3 inches that, and you do the same on the other side. All right, so now I'm trying to cut out the excess that I have on the sides, on the armhole of my main fabric. So just trim out whatever excess you have. Here is the front fabric. Next thing to do is to sew on the armhole. We are going to close the armhole. So only on the front, please. So you run that, you notch and top stitch. When you are sewing on a curve shape, you always need to notch and top stitch so it can relax. So we're going to notch and top stitch. You do the same on the other side. Here I'm trying to be sure whether the measurement I have on one side is the same as the other side. So I don't have one side of my dress coming out wider than the other. So now this is what we have. We need to iron this. Make sure you iron, then we'll go to the back. So for the back, we are going to place our fabric as though we want to join the shoulder. Yes. exactly like this. Make sure you place it well, the back and the front. Then you use the lining, the back lining. You use it to turn. You turn like so, and then you join the shoulder. So now while joining the shoulder, make sure to stop at wherever the front your front fabric stops. That is where we are going to stop. Then you pull out your front fabric, you pull it away so that you can continue to join the armhole on the back fabric. Remember, we joined the armhole on the front, so we're going to sew that of the back too. But first you need to join the shoulder. So stop wherever the front fabric stops, then you pull it out, you pull the front fabric out, so you can continue with the armhole on the back. Remember to notch and also you top stitch. So this is what we have. I'm going to do the same on the other side. We are repeating the same thing we did on the right hand side to the left hand side. So just place your fabric, use the back lining to turn. Then you're going to join the shoulder. Make sure to stop at wherever the front fabric stops. Now that has been done, we're going to join. But before we close up the sides, we need to first finish up our belts in case you want to attach a belt to your dress. So you close it, just follow the shape you have on the belt and close it up. Now to close up the sides, we are going to pick the front and the back fabric only. Make sure you're not sewing on the lining, just the front and the back fabric. Then the lining for the front and that of the back, you pull it out to join like this as well. So you have the front, the lining to lining, and you have the fabric to fabric. Make sure the armhole, you're joining on the armhole aligns. You can pin it down. Then you can continue your sewing. So you're going to place your belt in between the fabric to fabric. Then you close it up. Whatever you've done on the side, you're going to repeat the same on the other side. So now this is what it looks like on the outside after joining. And this is beautiful, I think. Yes, I know. It is beautiful. So let's go ahead and repeat the same on the other side, just as we have done on the right hand side. I wouldn't know if that's your right hand side anyways. Whatever you've done on one side, just repeat on the other side. So we have the same results after that has been done, and here it is. Our little princess is coming out so well. Okay, so the back is going to look like this, and of course on the inside this is what you have. So let's proceed. To the base of our dress, we cut out a veil net, satin, lining, ad nets, and lining. Now, in the same order, you're going to run a straight sewing on each of the fabric so that you can gather it. So make sure you do not stitch the ends. Do not stitch on both ends of the fabric. Just run your straight sewing all the way. Now pick one of your thread and pull. It's so easy to do. Just pick and pull. So you continue to pull until you have gathered all the fabric. So you gather the veil nets one after the other. You gather the satin, you gather your lining, you gather the ad nets, you gather the lining again. So go ahead and do that. So now, pulling the thread, you pull from on one side and stop at the middle. Then on the other side, you pull as well. Please do not pull just one side of your fabric. Do not pull at one side of the fabric. Do not pull at one side of the fabric. Once you start pulling from the right hand side, you can stop at the middle, then you continue the pulling on the other side of your fabric. Do not pull on only one side. of the fabric. So we're going to do that on all our fabric. Here's the third veil net. If you have 5 veil nets, that's in layers, you're going to do the same thing. Now here is my satin, and of course I need to fold the base of my fabric. So that's what I am doing, and then back to gathering the satin itself. So here is my lining, and then I'm done with that. Now here is going to be the veil net for our ruffles. On the ruffles, I am going to run my straight sewing at the middle, not at the edge this time around. It's going to be at the center of my veil net. If yours, if the length is 3 inches, you're going to run the sewing on 1.5 inches. So you measure 1.5. Make sure the sewing is at the center and not at one edge. Now, here's another veil net. This is just a form of design that I intend to, have on my dress. I am going to gather this and then place it on my fabric as a design. So the gathering, of course, is just the same way we did on our veil nets on the ruffles. So it's going to be at the center, and then I'll place it on my main fabric. You can create another design on your dress. Attaching this, I make sure I am not sewing on the lining. Whatever you're doing on your dress, please be sure you're not sewing on your lining. By all means, just make sure you pull out the lining from the needle and the thread. Just make sure you're not sewing on your lining, all right? This is how it looks like, and now we can continue um the sewing. So the arrangement now, it is going to be the veil net, the veil net, the veil net. That's 3 layers of my veil nets, which is going to be joined to the fabric. Here is the 3rd layer. Now the satin follows. If you can find the means of placing all the layers one after the other, you can do that. So the arrangement is just veil net, veil net, veil net, satin, lining, hard net, then the final lining, which will be attached on the lining. So if you're going to join and you feel like joining everything at once, what you're going to join is your veil, all the veil nets and the satin, followed by the lining, followed by the hard net. So the last lining is still pending. The last lining is still pending. So if you can find your way, fine. And if you want to follow the same way I did mine, It's just the veil nets, then the satin first. Now, as you see, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to correct my gathers. You know, there's a way you gather your fabric while gathering, and then there's possibility that you one side is much more gathered than the other side. So you can just use your hands to control that, to be sure that you have them equal. So that's just what I am trying to do here. Yeah, this is beautiful. Can you see? Yeah, it's beautiful. So this is the result, and we are not done. Come to think of that, we are not done yet. So this is what we have after joining the gathered, the veil nets and the satin. This is what we have. Here's the front, the inside, and so we move to the add nets. Of course, you still need to gather that. Now I'm going to explain few things to us. Here's my hard net. It's your choice if you want to have like 3 layers of hard nets. You know, you want your dress coming out so bogus. You can have 3 layers, just the same way we have our veil nets. You can cut your hard net like that, or you have your hard net in steps. So now I'm using the lining here to represent one hard net. So I have one hard net, you place the other hard net, you place the other like at the end, or you have your hard net, and then your hard net placed in layers, just the same way we have our hard net. And you can have the hard net placed at the base of each of it. Let me explain for that. Like, you have the first layer is 5 inches. Now at maybe 4.5 inches, you gather another layer of hard net at the base, and then that one is 5 inches as well. That's the second layer. So at the base, like 4.5, you still gather another layer. You can do it like that, and you can do it the way we have our veil net. So now what I'm doing is joining my lining to the lining. You know, we have 2 linings. So I'm joining the lining to the lining, that's the lining of the base. I'm joining it to the lining of the main dress. You're going to see once we are done. So can you see? You can see the outcome now. So it's just the lining, one of the linings joining to the lining of my half length. So it's going to close it up like this, and then now I can continue to add the other lining and the hard net to the main dress. So whichever way you feel it's easy for you to do, you can go ahead and do that. I have explained the layers already. So this is just it. So after the satin is the lining and then the hard net. So I'm just going to join it. So now we are done with the base of the dress. We move to fixing the zipper. Still make sure you're not sewing on your lining. Now I would have explained this part, but I just don't want us to get confused. What we are going to do here is at the edge, at the very edge, I'm going to lose some part of my lining. Yes, just that part, so that I can have the edge of my zipper enclosed. So while sewing, if you can do that, to be sure that you don't sew on the back, that's the back neck, you don't complete the sewing, you're fine. But it's just for us not to be confused, I just needed to do that. So you can just lose a little part and make sure your zipper is tucked in, just like this. You have the zipper on the lace fabric, and then you close it up with your lining. So you can go ahead and fix your zipper. Now, another thing we need to take note at this part is, while sewing, when you are sewing, you can just pull out your veil nets. You can pull out your veil net and try to sew only on the satin. You sew only on the satin. That's if you can do that. But if you cannot, then no problem. You can just continue your sewing on the veil net. But if you can find the means of pulling it out, taking out your veil net, that will be fine. Just like I have here, that will be very, very, very fine if you can find a way to pull it out. So we're going to continue the zipper, sewing the zipper, and make sure the joining, of course, your joining on the half length must align. It must align. So you can use your pin to hold it down. Then the remaining parts of your veil net, that's if you can find the means of not sewing on your veil net, the remaining part of your veil net, we are going to close it up. Now it's going to be one after the other. Please don't pick all three to join at the same time. Just pick one veil net, the first one, you close it up. Then you pick the second, you close it up, and then the third, you close it up. Just follow the step here. Okay, so now that we are done with that, just close you need to close the satin as well. Make sure the joining, your joining on the half length, make sure it aligns before you close it up. So you close the remaining part of your satin. The lining as well. Yeah. So now you can see what we have. You see that we can easily lift each of the veil nets, 1, 2, and 3. So this is what the base looks like. So now you can go ahead to finish up the remaining part of your zipper. Still holding your satin and the lining only. Satin and lining only. So now that we fixed the zipper, you can now top stitch on the lining and the fabric to close it up. You can just close it, that part where we loosed, you can sew it back and top stitch on it. Zipper edge is enclosed already. So you can do that, and then we are almost at the end of our sewing, if not at the end already. Remember, if this is your first time on this channel, you need to subscribe and turn on your notification bell so that each time I upload a new video, you can always receive a notification for the new video. Now, the last thing we're going to do is pick your lining and turn it over just like this in order to close the edge of both the zipper and the fabric. So it's going to close it up. The zipper and the fabric is well. So I'm sewing on the zipper so that it will be closed. So we are sewing the line, we are using the lining to close up the edge of our sewing. I'm doing that on the side, and I'll do the same on the other side. Of course, we have excess zipper, so you can just cut it off. Now we move to the ruffles, which is the last thing on our dress. Yeah. So we're just going to gather the ruffles. You know, you can have this in layers. You can have it as much as you want. If you still want it to continue, I have just one layer here, so just take it round. If you want yours to be 5 layers, you continue. The same thing I'm doing here is what you're going to do. Just run it on your veil net, on one veil net. Continue to gather and sew on it at the middle, please. You're sewing at the middle of your ruffles, and then you're good to go. I still remain Simeon Grace. I love you. Do not forget to like this video, and if you have any question, drop that in the comment section. I am always here to answer your questions. Do not forget that our tutorials on Africa TV are still there, but we are now uploading our new tutorials here on Kharis Kreations. I love you, and I love you.